We predicted that fuel prices will start coming down because what actually created the increase was the reason of scarcity because of the wars in Russia and Ukraine, which created sanctions on Russia. And Russia is one of the biggest suppliers of oil in the international community. So that was part of the reasons why we had the prices increasing. The second thing was a problem within the supply chain because we're returning from COVID, and therefore the systems that were moving the fuel, the supply chain were clogged. We are all aware that ports used to have a lot of problems, empty containers there were all those supply chain challenges that were affecting the flow of goods and services. Now, what that did, the Russian oil continued flowing, but at a much reduced price. So also some bigger countries like India negotiated better prices for that oil. Now, what happened is that because of that, the rest of the suppliers started seeing a bit of pile-ups of stocks. So that brought the prices down. And most recently, I think the US government was trying to ask the OPEC, which is the Organization of Petroleum Producing Countries, to actually reduce production so that the prices, to increase production so that there is bigger supply and prices come down. So systems are opening up and becoming better. So the supply hurdles have also reduced. So that has created a reduction in international prices. Now, in Uganda's situation, we have benefited in two ways. One, the contributing factors, the international price has come down, but also we are seeing the exchange rate, the dollar to shilling. It has also, the Uganda shilling has appreciated a bit. It is back in the 3,680 and so on and so forth. Now, because the oil uses a lot of dollars, so if you have cheaper dollars, it means that actually plays into the price of fuel and it becomes lower. Yes, as long as we start to see increased supply of the commodity on the international price, it can happen in two ways. One, if the war between Russia and Ukraine eases, that will help. The second thing, if OPEC accepts to increase its supply on the international community, and I think they might soon consider increasing the supply, given that we know, as you know, that we don't have so many years to continue supplying oil. So countries have to think through whether by not actually mining out that fuel, they won't actually lose out when the time comes and we don't have fuel. So there could be that situation playing out also. Which can also lead to reduction in the prices. So I think personally I'm hopeful that we'll continue seeing reductions in the fuel prices. There is also going to be a contribution in terms of the prices because of the better and more efficient and cheaper ways of getting fuel into the country. Now, you are aware at the beginning of the year, we had, and we know that some fuel is now going to be starting to come through Lake Victoria from Kisumu. And the cost of fuel, transporting fuel on the lake is lower than transporting on the road. So when now most of the fuel comes through the lake, it means that we'll start seeing a contribution of the reduction in the fuel at the fuel pump. Fuel touches almost every aspect of life, and in business, almost everything. The transporting of these commodities around, all of these things are determined by the cost of fuel. So if prices start becoming lower, we are going to start seeing impacts of those prices, the reductions in the prices of other things. For instance, in the food industry, we already know today that the price of maize has come down. Yes, there are seasonal reasons because we are seeing more supply because of the start of the harvest season. But also, maize is a heavy commodity and the fuel is a big component. Now, if it is a bit lower, it it means that this can also have those impact in terms of reducing the price. We don't foresee any situation in which the ministry or government will cut taxes. We don't actually foresee it, but would have loved to see it. So the government might try to look at how best it can actually address this. So in terms of policies, they might try to do policies that allow more spending, because we know this time for government to deal with inflation, it has used the two tools, the monetary policy and also fiscal policy. So we might see some increase in spend by government to try to make sure that the ordinary person has more disposable income. But we don't see a situation where we are going to see a specific policy that is going to move towards directly reducing, but it's going to be, they are going to focus on creating policies that make it more efficient to do business, so that those efficiencies create the price reductions. If the trends continue, we are likely to see prices reducing. But there is all this volatility and a lot of uncertainty, but on the balance, we think that this should continue, this should happen.